Good morning, everyone. Here we are with another interview talking about a book that is coming out this week that you're going to want to know about. And we are talking with Justin Greenwood, the artist of the book and also a Sacramento resident, about the new book from Dark Horse Comics called Butcher's Boy. So welcome to the show, Justin. Thank you for joining us early this morning.
Thanks for having me.
How's your Saturday going?
It's good. I was just listening to this. I can hear this little sound. Is that the dog snoring?
Unfortunately, that is Captain Dylan Hunt. And it's not even snoring, it's breathing.
That's awesome. I'm feeling good. I'm waking up. I'm shaking off the week and starting fresh on a Saturday. I feel good today.
Now, are you going to get to work on a Saturday? You said shaking off the week. Isn't this just another day for an artist?
It is, but I have a family, which creates a natural kind of regular work week rhythm. And, I'll go and hang with everybody for a bit. I will work today for a while just because, I just have a lot to do. It makes sense to try and get it in when I can. The kids have to go to a birthday party, so I'm going to sneak in a few hours at least.
Okay. Well, we'll actually go over what's keeping you so busy, what you think about. But what is it we see right here that you're working on? Can you talk about that? Because we're looking at your drawing board.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I had taken this out. This is actually a page from The Butcher's Boy, which is our new book coming out this week. The top portion of it is not done because it ended up this page is actually a rework. We had made a change. This book opens on, it's not a spoiler to say this book opens on flash forwards as to what is happening in the book later, and then kind of sets us down in the current day. And we really want to make a point to where when we originally worked on these flash forwards, as the book has developed, we had some new ideas, and so we wanted to match those up with the stuff that was coming out. So
that is cool. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the book for somebody who does not know?
Yeah, The Butcher's Boy is kind of like a psychedelic horror book. It follows a group of kids who end up in this small town, and in a town that has this folklore about the Butcher's Boy, this killer this butcher who had a long time ago gone into a mine and gotten stuck or disappeared for a long period of time and came out insane and started hacking people up. And this story has dominated this town for a long time. And this group of kids decides we're going to go check this thing out and just see if we can soak up some of this local lore. And as true horror things happen, it does not go as according to plan,
Of course. Now, this is a 4-issue mini.
Yep.
And you said you're still working on pages. How far along are you?
I'm pretty far along. I'm on the last issue of the 4. And I'm working on it this month, over the course of this month. So it'll be done relatively soon, probably around the time. Well, the book comes out next week. I would say it'll be done just like a couple weeks after or something, at least my part of it.
Okay. And then you can step away and work on some other things.
Yeah.
Now, how did you and Landry come together on this? Have you worked with him before?
Yeah, Landry and I have worked together. Yeah. We did the thing we worked on most recently was The Last Siege. It was an image book from maybe 4 years ago or something. Yeah. 5. How long ago was that? Do you remember? It was 4 or 5 years ago.
I think it was more than that, but
was it really?
It's in relative recent memory.
That's so crazy. I used to live in the East Bay, and Landry lives in the East Bay, and there was a group of us who would get together periodically and hang out who were involved in comics, and we became friends through that. I didn't know Landry growing up, surprisingly, although we have a lot of the same interests. We didn't meet until much later, doing shows and stuff. And we just started to hang out and put our heads together. And the first thing we did was The Last Siege, and had a blast. We did this medieval. It was kind of set up like a medieval Western, a story that follows a stranger in a town, and then this big fight escalates into an all-out war.
And I knew Landry was part of that group. I knew you had that group. Wait,
yeah. There was a bunch of us. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Does Landry draw?
Landry does not draw, but Eric Jones, his longtime pal, did. And so he would come out. There was just a bunch of writers and artists. So we would just
creatives in general.
Yeah. Sometimes we would talk about collaborating. A couple times we had in fact, for a minute we had a project on where we were all going to jump into it, 4 or 5 people. And I don't remember what happened. I think that company, we just decided they were not worth putting our time into, or it just didn't work out.
Okay, but other things on the plate. That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of stuff happens. But Landry and I did talk about doing something. Finally did The Last Siege, and then just had a really good time, and we talked about down the road we should do something else. And him and his friend Pinnell had come up with this idea. I don't know, in the last few years. I'm not sure when they started, but he approached me about drawing it, and I just thought it was awesome. And then this is probably a couple of years ago now, and I just thought it was a cool premise. I have never drawn horror, for one thing, and I really like horror. I like the pacing of it. I like the visual aspect of it. It's visceral, and it's a bunch of storytelling components that I don't often get to use the same way. So it was nice to be able to jump into something like that.
Okay, and it sounds like this horror isn't just the hack and slash, from what I've read about it. There's a lot of the suspense and the mystery and the detective work.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of a mystery element, and I think also like we're playing with reality a little bit, and it's specific to the story without being too spoilery. But it's rad. I feel like it has the horror trappings, but it is in a framing that is pretty unique to this particular story. I'm also trying to tread lightly because I don't want to spoil anything.
No.
Like, you become really familiar with something, and then you realize, like, not everybody's familiar with this. I got to be careful what I say about it.
Yes, you've invested yourself pretty heavily into it.
And I'm so far along that I want to start talking about stuff I'm working on right this minute. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I can actually talk about those things.
Yeah, no, and there's only 4 issues, so you can't give too much away.
Yeah, and it moves kind of fast. In fact, I feel like every issue really ramps up, and this stuff, and it's like that with a lot of books, particularly with this one. Like the issue I'm working on now is just insanity from page to page.
Okay, that's great. So a good final chapter to close this thing out.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, can we see a picture of the covers and see what we've got here so people can take a look? Who's your colorist on this one?
Oh, it's Brad Simpson. Brad and Pat Brousseau, the letterer. We all worked on The Last Siege together as well. Like, Brad came in and colored half of it. Eric had colored the first half from that same group of people I was talking about. And Brad came in and did the second half. That Last Siege was almost like 2 stories. Like, you could have made it like a part 1, part 2 in terms of how the storytelling was. And so he came on and colored part 2. Brad did.
Okay, who did the covers? Because that first cover really pops.
Oh, it was awesome. Of The Last Siege? No, are you talking about Butcher's Boy?
Butcher's Boy.
Oh, it was Brad. Brad did on the Butcher's Boy. Brad did everything.
Oh, he did everything. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, we don't seem to be able to see the cover, unfortunately. But
I can hold it up for you. I have a copy of it here.
Oh, we've got a copy. If we could just pull him back up big, we can take a peek at this that we've got. There we go. You can see. I mean, I think the colors are really great, especially the contrast between the centerpiece with the rip and the subdued kind of purple background. I think it looks.
Yeah, thanks, man. Brad, he's awesome. In fact, Brad and I worked together over this last, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 years. Brad is probably the colorist I've worked with the absolute most, and I love his stuff. And I think he's doing really interesting things on this book because there is a psychoactive element to this. As the story progresses, it gets weirder, I guess. Like the colors get less and less literal and more surreal. And man, the stuff he's coloring right now is just unbelievable. Like, it looks really, really good.
Well, good. I'm looking forward to it. We will have it this week, everybody. So whether it's me, ask me to put it on your saver, ask me to pull a copy for you, wherever you are, ask your shop to grab one for you. If you don't see it on the shelf because they sold out, have them get more. Make sure. And now this one is obviously hitting now. You're finishing it up.
Yeah.
You said you had a couple other projects. Is there anything you can talk about or even hint about?
I do. I can't talk too much about them, but I am working on a graphic novel for TKO right now. I don't think that's too out of pocket, but it won't be announced for a little while still. Although I'm very far into it at this point. And I can't talk about what the book is specifically, in fairness, but it's a lot of fun. I really have respect for. I had never worked with them before. It's a publisher who I feel like does really interesting books in general. Like, they curate really carefully and do interesting stuff. So I'm excited to be working with them on something.
Yeah, no, the company's actually really interesting. They're the way they came out the gate. Some of the names they had on their initial books, were just fantastic. They had Garth Ennis and Jeff Lemire on their and I love the fact that they offered trades immediately if people wanted it, or you could get the comic sets. It's just a really unique company, and like you said, they do pretty much every genre.
Yeah,
really fun.
Yeah, I think they're a cool groups, and yeah, I do think their comics too. Lots of new publishers popped up in the last 5 years, maybe, and I feel like a lot of them make comics that are just sort of, I don't know, either a little boring or forgettable or something. But I feel like TKO really does things that are interesting and like comics for comics' sake type stories. You know, they're just really cool looking. They have interesting artists. Like they're a good group, I think.
Well, good. So we can't talk much about it, but that'll be out.
Yeah.
Then you have even yet another project you're working on.
I do. We'll have a couple things that are in the hopper that I'm not sure where they're going to end up. The thing I have on the side I'm probably most excited about is Ramon Villalobos, who's also local issues in Stockton. We've been working on this.
Local.
Yeah, he's local. We've been working on this project over the last year. We're getting ready to find a home for it. It's one of the rare projects where, as I work on it, I just feel certain it'll find a home quickly, and we're going to lock that down somewhere. We're doing like a gangland story.
Okay.
He's gonna write and I'm gonna draw. We're kind of putting the story together, and then he's gonna formally write it. And I'm gonna formally draw it.
Okay. And so that's down the road. You just gotta.
That's down the road. I don't know. In fact, we're in the next couple months. We're gonna start looking for a home for that book. But I have a feeling. I don't know. So I just have a lot of confidence in it. Sometimes you see a project where you just feel like the log line reads clear. It's cool looking. Like it's just a kind of an easy sell. You know.
Okay. So
knock on wood.
Yes.
You might talk to me in 6 months, and I might be pulling my hair out, but I don't think that's going to be the case.
I mean, I would hope that with both of you on the book, we could get somebody to pick it up. You both in the industry, and it'll be good to see Ramon again. I love his artwork. So
yeah, he's been cooking away. He's got a lot of new stuff in the hopper. Actually, I was just talking to him the other day. We started a group. Actually, we started a studio, El Camino Art. Like this little art collective with Ramon and Ibrahim Mustafa and Brian Level and Tony Gregori, where we will kind of compare notes on what we're working on, and we're going to do shows together, and we've been selling art as a group. We started this maybe just like in the last couple months, and it's been awesome. But one of the best things is it just kind of brings me in a more frequent contact with a bunch of artists who I really respect and like, and so it's been a lot of fun. And
I imagine that's motivating too.
It's super motivating.
Not that a deadline isn't motivating enough, but
no, it is motivating. But there's a whole. It just I think art is such a solitary. I think comics in general. It's not specific to just the artist part, but definitely for artists, it's such a solitary endeavor where you have something your story you're trying to tell, and your head's in it, and you're constantly thinking about that one thing and how you're going to do that thing. And then you start comparing notes with other artists, and you start realizing there's just so many other angles you can take that you might not come up with on your own, but like they're out there, and it is really inspiring. And, thankfully our little community, we have a big community of folks who we like to talk to, but it's nice to have a specific group that you can really bounce things off of quickly and be critical of each other if you need to be, if you need real feedback, you can get it.
Yeah, and that's always extremely useful, right? Not just having somebody say, "Oh, it looks great." Just
so useful, because hearing things are great feels good, but you don't learn from it. And I think if you're really trying to be an artist, you have to have that real internal desire to want to learn. I feel like every time I'm working on a project, I'm thinking about how making it better than the last one, and how can I really what can I take from this experience and use it for the next one, and just it's constantly. Every project is a step towards getting closer to something I'm trying to do. Whatever that thing is, I don't know. It's a little ethereal, really.
Yeah, you're not even sure what it is. You just know you can.
No, but I feel it. You feel it though, and sometimes you touch it a little bit when you're drawing, and you're like, oh, that's it. This gets right in close on something I want to tangibly wrap my head around, or understand instinctually better.
That's awesome. And so we'll start seeing this collective at the shows together.
Yeah. I don't think we've formally announced it, but our first show will be Rose City, and I think you'll get 4 out of 5 of us over there, and we're gonna present together, and we'll just be exhibiting and hanging out together in Artist Alley. It's gonna be awesome. I mean, it's a group, like I said, it's a group that I would normally be trying to sit near or hanging out at shows with anyway, but doing it with some sort of formality is extra fun. It makes it knowing we're all gonna be sat together for certain is really fun. It makes it enjoyable.
That is, and I've heard nothing but amazing things about that show. That's one of the shows I have not made it to, unfortunately.
Oh, really? And that's an easy one too. It's I mean, especially for us. I mean, it's awesome. That's a really good one, because you get so many creators. Portland and Seattle, there's so many creators in that area anyway that show is packed between that and people who come visit from out of town.
Yeah, Emerald City Comic Con was my probably my favorite con because
It's awesome.
It felt like it was actually about the comics.
Yes. Yeah.
Which was fantastic.
Yep. And I think Rose City's a lot like that, but a little smaller and a little less fancy. Like Emerald City has a lot of gloss to it, and it's awesome. I really like that show a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Rose City feels a little more personal, and it's a little smaller, but you're just if you're loving comics, it's a real treasure trove of people who know what they're talking about out there. It's really fun.
All right, I'll have to put that one on my list and make it there.
This might be the year. This could be. I think it's a September or October show. It's right. It's like fall.
It's time to plan. Okay, I'll have to look it up and see what I can do, because that's like you said, it's easy to get to. There's no real.
Yeah, it's not expensive to fly there. You can stay for pretty cheap, and it's a pretty easy city to navigate. Like it's one of the easier shows to attend. It's good.
Nice. Yeah. So why don't we give them, since they're going to pick this book up on Tuesday anyways, let's give them a list of some of your greatest hits they can find on the shelf for trades.
Oh, what kind of other stuff have I worked on?
Yeah, so that way you guys can just go this weekend. Don't wait till Wednesday to pick it up.
I like where your head's at. That's a good one. Well, we talked about The Last Siege. That I'm sure is probably on shelves. That was from Image Comics with Landry, the same creative team, basically. Oh. And I worked with Pat and Brad both on Crone, which is from Dark Horse Comics, also another Dark Horse Comics book.
Crone was a lot of fun. That was a fun.
Thank you. I love that book. I mean, if I look back at all my projects, that's one of the ones I get most excited about. Dennis Culver was the writer, who recently, I think he's best known for Doom Patrol. Now he was working on DC's Doom Patrol, and a bunch of other stuff for them. But it was rad. It was kind of like we sold it like Unforgiven meets Red Sonja, kind of like one of the greatest sword fighters of the world has finally retired her sword and defeated her villain and tries to kind of settle into a normal life. And many years later finds that she's called back to action and has to see if she still has it within herself to go back to battle, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's inevitable.
Yeah, it is. And I have a real enthusiasm for stories about older folks who have to find the will. I don't know what it is. Maybe I just like drawing old people, honestly. But I mean, the faces are interesting. What's that? Sorry.
I said there's just something about that too. Just the premise. You know, you've spent your whole life doing this. You're spent. You're done. You know, and then you've got to find that resolve to that one more time. Yeah,
100%. I love those kinds of stories. I feel like I relate to them in some weird way, and I just think, God, that book was so much fun. It was so much fun to work on. Dennis actually came to me with that idea, describing it, but he had another artist already, and I thought, man, that is a killer book. And then something happened with that artist; they fell out for some reason, and he had reached out about working on it. I'm like, I'll draw this book in a minute. I love it.
Take it. Let's do it.
Yeah, and it was the first time I got to work with Dark Horse too, and now coming back with Butcher's Boy, which I feel like Butcher's Boy for them. At the time, I think they had the Conan license, and I felt like, oh, Crone will be kind of perfect here. In the same way that now with Butcher's Boy, they're so known for horror that it just makes them a perfect fit, you know?
Well, good. Very good. So what other ones do we have? We've got
what else have I worked on? Compass was a recent-ish Image book. Let me look at my own. The only problem with drawing comics and being in these worlds is you forget the other things you can go from 1 minute to another and complete. Oh, the most recent one I did was Torrent. I don't even know what I'm thinking.
Oh God, yeah, that one just finished and
that one just came out in the last what was that? Was that 6 months ago or 5 months? It was less than,
it was pretty recent, yes.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so crazy. Yeah. I'm just riffing right now. And I feel like Last Siege and Crone both, I feel like I came out to the shop or was doing something related to they were on shelves at the time I was out there. And so for some reason, I think of those ones first. But Torrent is the most recent thing I did, which was a superhero book with Mark Guggenheim for Image. That's so crazy. What a crazy run it's been.
And it might have just come out in trade 6 months ago, but you worked on it so long ago.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right, which is nuts, because I was way ahead on that book. That book, when it started coming out, I was totally finished with it already at that point. But we did a book that was kind of like that. Torrent, the logline for Torrent was sort of like, what would it take to make Spider-Man into the Punisher? Like, what does it take to push a B-level, happy-go-lucky superhero into just a complete monster?
Okay.
And it was awesome. That was my first superhero book. And it's funny. I've been drawing comics now almost 15 years, and for some reason I had not drawn a superhero book really or a horror book. And both of those I've done in the last year and just had a really good time. I also worked in the last year on Army of Darkness, kind of a sequel to the movie.
Yeah,
with Tony Fleece.
that was for Army of Darkness Forever.
Army of Darkness Forever, yeah, which was horror adjacent. It's a lot different tone than the Butcher's Boy. Butcher's Boy is a lot. I feel like it's a lot darker. Although Army of Darkness, if you're familiar with the movie, it has plenty of darkness in it. Also, it's in the name, I guess, so it has to be real. but it's playful, right? Like that. There's a sense of humor to it that I think is really fun.
It's not quite the dark horror that you're going for with this one.
Yeah, and I drew the first arc. That book is still coming out. So if there are Army of Darkness fans out there, and you're interested in seeing where that story would have gone if it had continued, this book is really pretty awesome. I don't know if we had talked about it around the time it came out, but Tony was really interested. There was a director's cut of Army of Darkness that had a different ending. Have you ever seen the other ending of that movie?
I have not. No.
There was an ending of that movie that originally Sam Raimi had shot, and the intention was to have him take too much of the little potion and basically sleep all the way until the future. So when he wakes up in like a post-apocalyptic future, and that was sort of the setup for what would have been the next movie. So what Tony did was he wrote a book that kind of matched both endings. He has a book that matches the original ending, and the book matches also like what the ending that they went with was, which was him coming back to our reality or whatever. And the story teeters between all the different realities and tells a really concise and really fun like what if story of what could have been for that move, the next movie. It's awesome, and it's still coming out right now. So if you are an Army of Darkness fan, I would strongly recommend it. I don't know when our trade comes out. I'm not in contact with Dynamite on the regular to know the answer to when that is, but I think issue 6 came out. Geez, I think they're on issue 8 right now. Does that sound right to you?
It sounds about right. So I don't
like in that ballpark
trade yet. So it's got
the trade must be coming in the next few months, right?
Got to be coming, but I don't think I've seen it hit the shelf yet.
Yeah, it definitely hasn't been on the shelf, but I don't know. I would guess it in the next few months. I should look and see. I don't even know if it's in previews or whatever. I don't think so. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
But so Torrent, Army of Darkness. I did a OGN called Area 510 with Jay Ferber for Oni Press, which was awesome. I love that book. And that came out. We worked on that during COVID, but it came out maybe 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. Does that sound right?
It sounds about right. Yeah.
God, I'll tell you, between having kids and COVID, time has gotten so wiggly that I just don't remember. If I think back, everything feels like a couple months ago, or it's like 5 years ago, and it's never either one.
It's very strange the way time has over the last few years. So so that gives people a good chunk to look for.
Yes,
and I mean, you didn't even mention Stumptown.
Yeah, and Stumptown, which those are, I don't know, I'm not sure if Stumptown is still in print. There's out on shelves though, for sure.
It should be. I think why that would be stupid of them not to have it in print.
That would be crazy.
Empires has it, so if you need it, Empires has got Stumptown.
As long as Empire's got it, we're good. But
yeah, we're good.
Had the benefit of having a show made out of it, so it's definitely had the biggest profile of all those projects as a result.
And it's a great book. I mean, God.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. I love working with Greg. Greg's the reason I ended up on Compass too. He had kind of shepherded this book at Image. We kind of brushed over Compass a little bit because we were talking about the other stuff, but it was sort of like a pulpy Indiana Jones-esque story, but only taking place, like I think it was in the 1200s or 1300s. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome. But that project was put together by Greg originally, and we've maintained a pretty good relationship. I've worked on they worked on a little bit of the Old Guard when they did an anthology series, and a little bit of Lazarus, the Lazarus X66. I got to work with him a bunch of times. He's awesome. He's a great writer.
That's great. Oh, yeah.
And I love Stumptown. That's something we've talked about coming back to a number of times too, and just haven't done it. And I'm not sure if and when that will happen, but we had talked about a volume 5 so many years ago now, and I'd love to return to it.
Yeah, no, that man needs to come back. I haven't seen him do a comic in ages. So.
Yeah, I think he's been pretty busy. I haven't caught up with him for a minute, but judging by all the movie stuff he's had going on, I think he's had his hands full. I don't know what he's working on right now. But even Lazarus, I don't even know has come back recently either, right? Oh, Forged is coming out though.
What's that?
Forged is coming out. Do you read Forged?
Oh yes, Forged is coming out. I forgot about that. Yes,
that looks rad.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
one's
that's
out.
a really good one.
All right,
He is doing a lot less than he used to, though, like in terms of comics, I mean.
Yes, he is. Yeah, yes. But so you guys have tons you can check out from Justin.
Yes.
Of course, The Butcher's Boy is this week, so make sure you get your copy. Tell your story you want it. Check it out and support. And thank you very much for joining us this morning, Justin.
Hey, thanks for having me. Check out the book. I appreciate the support, everybody. Thanks a lot.
Yes, definitely. And we'll have plenty of copies. So I'll see you guys in the shop. And you have a great week.
Thank you. You too.